Hello everyone. Today I'd like to show you how to automatically generate the captions for your YouTube videos using YouTube's built-in auto caption generator. I think it's going to be easier just to show you what I mean by this instead of trying to summarize the process in the intro. So let's get straight into it. So here's a look at my channel dashboard, and now I want to upload my new video, the video for which I want to generate captions. I'll click on Create in the upper right, Upload Videos. And here's my dialog box. I've got a folder open on the other screen here, so I'll just drag this MP4 file here and it will upload. I'm sure you're familiar with this part. I won't add a description or anything yet. I'm just going to wait for the video to process. No, it's not made for kids, I guess. Next. And I'm not going to do anything here yet. I don't want to add subtitles now. I'll click Next. Closed. So now the video is processing. Let's go over to the subtitles page. In the channel subtitles dashboard, here's the new video, and under the languages column, we'll click this down arrow, and you see that it says English United States, which is the video language, and I think that's somewhere in YouTube settings that I've set that as the default. Under the subtitles column, I can click Add, but I don't want to do that, right? I'm trying to figure out how to skip the work. Now what I want to point out is that auto translate here is grayed out. And if I hover over this, it says to use auto translate, publish captions in the original video language first. Auto translate is unavailable for auto generated captions. Now what that means is that after we've created a proper set of captions, then auto translate options will become available to viewers who want to watch the video in another language. So that's another benefit that we'll get here by the end. So I'll close this. And now I just need to wait. Automatically generated subtitles will show up, but they don't show up right away. So I just need to go do something else for a while and come back when that process has been completed. And notice that under the languages column, it still just has the number 1 here because we haven't added any other languages. When we come back later and the automatically generated captions have been completed, that number will increment 1. And that's how we know that the process has finished. Okay, so several hours have passed and now I finally have the number 2 here under the languages column. So if I click on this down arrow, I see English Automatic is now listed here. So go over to the far right and click Duplicate and Edit. And here are the auto-generated captions. Now if I go up to the phrase Edit Timings, just to the right a bit, there's a little Options button. Let's click on that and click Download Subtitles. So now a transcript file appears in our downloads folder. I'll go ahead and close this and discard the changes for now. So let's look at that transcript file. Right click, show in folder. So here it is in my downloads folder. Now I'm going to edit this file, but I recommend using something like Notepad++ instead of whatever text editor comes by default with your operating system, just because it's free and I think it's a lot nicer to work with than standard Notepad for Windows, for example. So I'll right click, edit with Notepad++, and here we have it, our own copy of the automatically generated captions for our latest YouTube video. If you're in the habit of script writing, this is probably not useful to you, but if you don't write scripts, then this is quite nice because you don't have to do any of the work, it's done automatically, and all that remains for you to do is to go through and properly punctuate and capitalize sentences and separate them onto separate lines so that it's more readable for the people who are using captions. And perhaps that seems like a lot of work, but it's really not when you consider what it would have been like if you had to write all of this from scratch. And there are even a couple of shortcuts you can take to reduce the work even further. So just to give an example, if I hit Control-H to pull up the Find and Replace function, usually one thing I fix right away is the YouTube name itself. I'd capitalize it to YouTube if I'm making a video where I talk about YouTube and just replace all, that's fine. Another one that's really good is I apostrophe to capital I apostrophe. And what's really shocking to me is that this time around, the auto captioner did a decent job of recognizing, when I'm using a personal pronoun I instead of just leaving a lowercase I. It got a lot of the contractions as well. Anyway, normally it doesn't do that, and using the find and replace function with lowercase I apostrophe replacing it with capital I apostrophe usually takes care of most of the contractions. If you mention your name, other proper nouns here that should be capitalized, that's all stuff that you would want to take care of here. So I'll do the rest of that later. Another thing I think is important to do is to separate the captions. And by that I mean kind of separate everything into standalone statements. So for example, this greeting, hello everyone, would probably appear on its own screen. That caption will show up by itself. And the next caption screen would be part of this sentence. And if you split them up onto separate lines, I find that the algorithm which assigns captions to their rightful timing in the video based on what was said and how it matches up with the video's audio, that process has a lot easier time properly assigning the captions if they're put on separate lines and broken into statements. At least that's how it's worked for me so far. So not just for clarity for the reader, I think also splitting these up and having them properly punctuated definitely helps the assignment algorithm do its job. And that means there'll be a lot less work to do in the next step. Okay, so I finished going through this file and I've changed all the captions to look how I would like them to look. And I've put a line break in between where I think there should be breaks in the captions. And we'll see that the algorithm kind of does its own thing, but for really simple ones like this, for example, or, shorter sentences, it does respect the separations that you've made. And in other cases, when it's too long to fit on one screen, then it will split it up. And we may have to review that, but we'll see that here in a moment. All right, so I'll head back over to my channel dashboard. And now in the channel subtitles page, I'll click on that video again, the drop-down arrow in the languages column. And once again on English Automatic, at the right, I'll click Duplicate and Edit. Now, a lot of the tutorials are suggesting that you duplicate and edit the automatically generated subtitles, but that you edit it here. And I don't suggest that because I hate editing stuff in this caption editor. It's, like anything that you do on the cloud, it's kind of laggy and the wrong keyboard input can make a sudden mess. I just hate working in here. So that's why I suggest that you download it first and then edit it and then re-upload it. Now I'll just select everything by hitting Control A and delete. Back over to Notepad++. Control A to select everything. Control C to copy everything. Back into the captions editing dialog box, Control V to paste everything. Now, it looks like a bit of a mess at first, right? It doesn't have any timing associated with it or anything, but it will come later. So I just need to hit publish. And now we see that we've technically added a new language. It's just English again, but it's not automatically generated. It's not the original video language. So now I've got 3 entries for English. But this third one, the one I've added myself, is the one I intend to use at the end. It's the one that I intend to publish. So what's happening right now is the captions are being associated with the video's audio, and this process runs a lot faster than automatically generating the subtitles in the first place, because it just needs to match up the words with the audio. And the better job you've done at punctuating, the faster it goes and the more accurately it works. Okay, so we've got a bit of time to kill while the algorithm reads through the captions that we've written. And I usually just like to add the title and description during this time. So I haven't added a description to this video yet. If I click add here, it will show that the original language has nothing as well. And this is the technically new language, even though it's also English. At least for the title, I can just copy and paste it here. So that's fine, but I still need to add the description. So for the English United States, the original video language, under the title and description column, this published word here, there's another options menu here. Let's click edit. And here's where I can paste the description. Now I could have added this right at the beginning, but I typically wait until the end. So I'll just copy the description I have written, paste it here, and it doesn't like angle brackets. fine. Now I just need to hit save. Nice, thanks for that. I'll go back to the channel subtitles page in the upper left here, so I get that same overview. Back to the drop-down arrow. Now under the added English language, the one that I'm editing, I'll go to title and description and click edit. And you see that it still has not been copied over, right? Even though it's the same language, it hasn't been copied over. So I just need to select everything here. Control C, Control V. Hit publish. So now the only thing left to do is to fine tune the captions. I like to give it just one more watch through because sometimes I find that it moves a bit too fast. It takes the caption off the screen a bit too quickly, and I don't like when that happens. So I'll go over here to edit. And now the captions and the timings are here for us to fine tune, but they're mostly done. And yes, I would just sit and watch through here and see that the captions look how I would like them. Sometimes there's an awkward split up, but for the most part, it matches what I have done myself, right? So here's an example of something I would like to adjust. Just watch how this caption gets cut off a bit too early. And I'm not going to do anything here yet. I don't want to add subtitles now. All you've got to do is just stretch it down here in the editor. It's a bit tricky because there's like only one pixel that you can really grab, but you can do it. I don't want to add subtitles now. No, I think that's better. Another thing I like to look for is clauses that are not on the same caption screen, because I know that when the auto translate function is used by viewers who are watching the video in a different language, the auto translate has a much better time translating complete clauses than it does when they're broken apart like this. So for example, here it says, which is the video, and then on the next caption screen, the word language comes in to complete that clause. So I would want to put that on the screen above. So for now, I'll just hit publish. I'll do the rest later. I also intend to delete now the automatically generated subtitles because they're inferior to the ones I've added myself. So I've started the video with the captions on, and you see that it is using the ones that I've created myself, but there is still the option to use the automatic ones. If I go to subtitles here, there's auto-generated subtitles still as an option, and they're a mess. I don't want them anymore. So I'll go back over to my subtitles screen, and here in channel subtitles, I'll just go ahead and delete this now. I don't need it anymore. So I've refreshed the video, and now when I go back into the options for subtitles, there's only the English option. And also we have auto translate now. So let's pick German. And now I found this caption that I mentioned earlier where it says, which is the video language? And when it got translated into German, it did it properly. It kept this relative clause completely on the same screen. So if I switch back to English for a moment, you see that it says, which is the video language? So that is what I wanted to point out. And I don't know how dependent clauses work in every language, but I know in German, it's easy to split them up if you don't keep them together when you first create the captions in English. Speaking of courtesies, there's one last thing I'd like to show. Now, I want to point out that the captions themselves occupy space on the screen. And if you've got content down here that's part of your video, then the captions will block it. So if I'm a viewer who wants to use the captions and somebody wrote an important message down here, or there's text, or I don't know, a dog is visible down here, like you would want to be able to see that. On top of that, when you pause it, usually more of the content gets blocked because the player controls show up. And that means if I want to read this text that somebody put here, or like if there's some other important content coming in this portion of the video, then I've got to turn all this stuff off just so I can see it, right? Especially the very bottom of the screen. So what I like to do to try to avoid these conflicts is I set up a text box in my video editing program that helps remind me to keep content out of the bottom of the video. And here it is in action. I've got this one video track dedicated to having this reminder to keep this area clear. So that will do it. That's it for all the other considerations that I wanted to put forward when it comes to captioning YouTube videos. I know some of these are maybe difficult to implement or rather time consuming, but I'm willing to bet there are people out there who would appreciate the effort. I thank you for watching.